Hello everyone, welcome back to Resident Evil 7. I am about to go and clear out that one old house, so I'm trying to think how much space I can give myself. Enhanced handgun ammo would be nice to keep. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 slots. Maybe for the time being we'll put away this. 8 slots feels good. And well, I'll put away the lantern too, because we can also grab the lantern. Might even put this away, because we got 37 shots, plus what's in the shotgun, plus healing items. I think we'll be okay. So, while we're doing some, cleanup, so to speak, of the boss arena, it seemed sensible to me that we could also clean up some threads. Oh, I should have... Psychostimulants. I'm going to grab psychostims to make this easier. While we're cleaning up the boss arena, I thought to myself, we could clean up some threads from previous dialogues that I haven't brought up, or some things that have been in my mind for a little bit. I'll just bring one and hope that I can sprint around fast enough. So one quick one was in episode 1 that I'm still figuring out how to re-record, but I briefly draw attention to the existence of this movie Cannibal Holocaust, which is semi-frequently cited as being the original found footage movie. And I still don't recommend it. I think I mentioned that. It's a pretty grotesque film for a lot of reasons that I won't get into. One of which is that... I won't get into all of them, but one of them is that it does this weird thing where at the end it tries to sort of moralize itself, its own content, and it tries to have a gotcha on the audience, which I think is kind of cheap, and it maybe thinks it's being more clever than it actually is. More psychostims, coincidentally. I forgot that there were some in here. It does this thing of trying to trick you into thinking that it has more of a purpose than it actually does, which I think is kind of cheap and kind of stupid and kind of cynical. The creators of the film probably knew that they weren't actually making a good movie, so they put in this gotcha at the end for the audience that I don't think is actually there to uplift the film in any meaningful way. I think it's actually there to maybe, as I said, kind of trick you into thinking that there's something more than there actually is. How do I get... Oh, probably just around the corner. Well, maybe not. How do I get... How do I get up there? So that was one brief point. The other brief point was just bringing up the fact that it is this so-called cannibal film. And I think it's worth... Yeah, how do I get over there? Huh. It's a cannibal film, and I brought up that term. And I think it's worth acknowledging that, what are cannibal films? And I don't think I really addressed that. Did she have to burst through here for me to get access to those other items? Or maybe that's something I can only get in It can't be something I can only get in nightmare mode. Huh. This is weird. I don't know how to get these last things. Anyway, the cannibal genre was this thing that came out of Italy, especially, like in the like late 70s, early 80s primarily. Like some of the earliest entries to that genre were a little bit earlier. Like 74, I think, is like the first one that people talk about, which I think is called The Last Cannibal World. Let's try going up those stairs and see if that leads to anything. I do have more psycho stims, so I could refresh this effect if we need. Yeah, it must be this. I jumped down. I didn't grab the stuff before jumping down. That's how all of this was left behind. I don't have a lockpick. I imagine there's ammo in there. Is there a bobblehead in here also? Seems like the kind of place that would be. But the cannibal genre largely kind of blew up in popularity because it was like a super cheap and kind of scummy way to make something kind of interacting with the zombie genre. So like as zombie films were really blowing up, you know, zombie films aren't necessarily that expensive to make to begin with, but there was always this question of like, how do you make a cheap zombie film even cheaper? And the way you do it is by not having zombies. And that sounds kind of ridiculous, but like that is a thing, and that's kind of how cannibal films came. It's like you don't make them zombies, you just make them living people who eat flesh, and you can sort of like do a lot of the same things, and with the degree to which like exploitation films like didn't care about doing pretty grotesque things conceptually and ethically, morally, whatever. Wow, I have a lot of chem fluid, I guess. I will make more strong ammunition, I think. But yeah, I felt like that was a point I wanted to bring up just because cannibal film I'm not using generically, because I think that, you know, there are films like Texas Chainsaw Massacre does technically feature cannibals, but like that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, or I was talking about in the case of Cannibal Holocaust, this weird moment when, like, to save money on zombie practical effects, they would just have these like very racist and very cruel concepts of do I have more gunpowder? I don't think I do. Crow key I kind of want to keep. I don't know if I'll need it. Lockpick I could take too. Maybe I don't have more gunpowder. Maybe I turned it all into bullets. Am I just overlooking it? Huh, okay, yeah, I guess so. You will go back for the meantime then. So. Yeah, that, like, Cannibal Holocaust was one of the big ones that really made the trend blow up. But it was more than that. It was also, there was Cannibal Ferox, there was Mondo Cannibal, there was Man from Deep River, I think is what it's called. There were a lot of them. There was Zombie Holocaust as well, which was both zombies and cannibals. But you still save money by, again, not having to use as many zombie effects. And that's kind of the whole thing. It's like you just do these racist depictions of indigenous peoples and imply that they're cannibals, and like that's cheaper and easier and lazier than putting together like an actual zombie production. More solid fuel. I don't know if I really want that. And probably, I don't know if I'm going to use the flamethrower much more at all. It's actually not a very good weapon for the most part. But yeah, so I just wanted to bring that up in contrast to other quote unquote cannibal films. That there was this thing where it's like cannibals just became a stand-in for zombies, and they were like articulated specifically through these racist tropes about like indigenous peoples in various tropical climates being cannibals. Is there anything here still? Maybe not so much. Okay, so we finally have used the counterweight. As we're going through this creepy zone, there's another topic I wanted to bring up, though, that I've been thinking about for a few days. Actually, it's been a little bit since I last recorded. But I think it's kind of interesting conceptually. Nothing in there. Got a big stuffed alligator, by the way. That's like this funny Louisiana thing, like they have gators down in the South. And speaking of cannibal films, actually, this is actually a nice segue into my next point. Tobe Hooper, who did Texas Chainsaw Massacre, after Texas Chainsaw Massacre, he also did another cannibal film called Eaten Alive, which has both a cannibal and also a giant, like, man-eating alligator in it. So Hooper is probably indebted, this game is indebted a lot to Hooper. Hooper actually also did a very little-known zombie movie in like 2005, I believe, called Mortuary, which is also about zombies being made by way of like a mold or a fungus rather than like the typical virus. So that it was kind of ahead of this game on that too, and you do get this like big black mycelium in that movie as well. It's not a great movie, but it's I don't think it's that bad either. I actually kind of liked it. Very little known, but it was like way ahead of The Last of Us in terms of this motif of mold zombies. Oh, very scary. Very The Shining, having that ball flop by. We got a fishing. The swamp something with alligators. I can't quite read that. My brightness is still all turned up like crazy. Piece of paper with Evelyn written on the back, and on the front, my family, my family, my family, my family. This is actually kind of a perfect part of the transition into what I'm about to get into as well. So I think something that's really interesting about this game is, as I said, we've talked about it being really related to Texas Chainsaw Massacre in a lot of ways. Funny details. This shoe looks almost like a Jordan 4. I think it's supposed to be a Jordan 4. Like the scale is completely off unless it's like grade school sized, but oh, there it is too. Yeah, it's 100% a Jordan 4. I'm gonna screenshot that. Anyway, Texas Chainsaw Massacre was in part inspired by some real crimes. Not literally. It didn't happen in Texas, I don't believe. Nor were chainsaws ever involved. But it is one of many things in pop culture that were based on the crimes of Ed Gein. I believe it's Gein. We get a cabinet full of babies. This actually relates to the other thing. And we got a bunch of writing all over the inside of the cabinet. That's more of the "I'm sorry, Daddy" text that was scrawled in the basement. So Gein was a serial killer in like the 50s. He actually, his reputation for being a serial killer is slightly overstated. Like, I think he's only confirmed to have killed like 2 people, but his crimes were really, really heinous. And one of the things that he's best known for is he was also a grave robber, and he would steal bodies from graves. So we got a bunch of letter E's, probably for Eveline. We have another drawing, presumably by Eveline or Eveline, and it's of a boat crashing and a bunch of people getting out of the boat. So we already saw a journal from Jack before, talking about how there was a storm that did a bunch of damage to the old house and also led to a boat crashing. Got a bear. Uh-oh. Bear's full of mold. But Geen was a grave robber, and he robbed what's believed to be something like 9 or 10 graves over time, maybe more. Or it might have been 9 or 10 separate occasions. I don't know how many total graves it was. But he would steal bodies, and he would, do horrible things with the bodies. Specifically, he would skin them, and he would like make furniture out of body parts, and no, more baby dolls, probably hanging from the ceiling and just fell. I wasn't looking in the right direction to know, but we have a lot of mold growth in here. Geen was a deeply disturbed, deeply ill man. Unsurprisingly, I mean, obviously he was a murderer and a grave robber. But this idea that he was sort of converting bodies into furniture, into architecture, to fashion items, this really captured the public's imagination, and he became this like huge thing. Something's wrong with her, the text says, but we don't know who her is or who is writing that. Now, Geen's crimes became a subject of some kind of national fascination in the 1950s and forward, and would go on to very loosely inspire Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, as well as Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Oh.
Stay away.
No. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and then Silence of the Lambs also. All of the above were loosely influenced by Ed Gein. And this idea of Norman Bates wearing women's clothes to like think that he was his mother. In Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Leatherface not only wears skin, but like he goes through 3 different main costumes in the film. First, he's like dressed like a butcher, and third, most iconically perhaps, he's wearing this like black suit. But his second costume is he's dressed like a housewife. He's wearing like a 50s housewife dress, and has a wig on in addition to the skin mask. And then, of course, Silence of the Lambs features Buffalo Bill, who wants to make a skin suit to dress up and become like a woman, or like he thinks it's part of some kind of like ritualistic transformation into being a woman. What do we got? We have presumably a drawing of this room, explaining that there's something on the wall next to me. Something in the wall next to me, maybe. Aha, I see. Door. So all of this idea of the skin suit is loosely based on something that Ed Gein was maybe actually doing. Like he actually was constructing garments from skin, and there was this I don't know to what degree it was true that he wanted to like wear women's skin in order to like feel as though he was inside his mother again, but that's a commonly repeated thing. But I think something that's really important and difficult about this story is that the way Geen has been interpreted historically in popular culture and even in mass media is often very, I guess, what you might call queered. Like, there's usually this tendency to sort of present him in pop culture sources as being like, there's this back and forth between presenting him as gay and presenting him maybe as trans. Like, that seems to be kind of the read that like Psycho tries to dodge it and says, like, oh, he's not a true transvestite, I think is the line that the detective says, but explains it as multiple personality disorder. And Silence of the Lambs does like a similar thing where Hannibal Lecter's like, oh, Buffalo Bill isn't truly a transsexual, he just thinks he is. And these are like weird sidesteps to sort of simultaneously cast very transphobic and I don't know, sort of hegemonic perceptions of Geen's activities, some of which stem from the detective reporting. Before we keep going, oh, there's Eveline's feet. She ran away. Scary music told me, but yeah, there's like an altar here where they left her food and flowers and candles, and there's some kind of mummified body here, once again constructed presumably of desiccated skin, and we have more of these dolls hanging out. Some of these interpretations have been or were amplified by, oh, more of the writing. Maybe, did I notice that? I guess I maybe didn't notice that on the way in here. Or maybe it's changed. There's writing all over. We have scary music. This is presumably Eveline's room. A lot of these reads were amplified by reporting at the time, like in the news. Is there another molded around here? Seems like there should be. I hear, maybe. Anyway. There's a lot of irresponsible reporting, including, as I understand it, there were maybe some like statements by detectives at the time who were like speculating upon stop it. Stop wiggling. That was my good ammo too. Switch ammo types. I wasted a lot there. A lot of the good bullets. There's some irresponsible reporting, irresponsible statements made at the time. Not that they necessarily would have cared about besmirching the names or reputations of gay or trans people in this era. I hear another one. Hi. Oh. I landed all those shots. I wonder if they're getting tougher. I mean, presumably. That's just game balance. Anyway. The concept that Geen was a cross-dresser, the concept that Ed was gay, were both kind of put out into the media and written about and talked about quite extensively. And there isn't actually really evidence for either of them. But it sort of left this indelible impact on the perception of his crimes, and that filtered into the pop culture representations of them. So before I answer the phone, I do want to like touch back upon this thing. So I think it's kind of interesting, is opposed to Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Psycho and Silence of the Lambs as being these very like maliciously sort of, I don't know, they're sort of like malicious takes on the Geen story. Well, okay, I'm gonna answer the phone and then I'll finish up the talk because I'm tired of hearing the ring.
Did you find it?
Yes.
Yeah, I got it. Are we really gonna be able to make serum with this thing?
It'll be fine. After we make it, we can get out of here. Together. I'll be waiting for you in the trailer.
Alright.
Okay. So this whole thing with babies, the whole thing about daddy, the whole thing about she wants us to be a family, etc. I think it's a really interesting part of this game because there are aspects of this that are sort of related to the Geen myth, and is certainly drawing influence from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Maybe a little bit is coming from Silence of the Lambs, like the basement in Buffalo Bill's house or whatever. But this is not a like this I think does a really interesting thing where it's using some of that kind of mythology, I guess, this urban mythos around some of these structures, I guess, some of these architecture surrounding the mutilation of corpses. And it's telling that story in a story that is very much about family. And I think that's kind of interesting. Like and specifically I should say a nuclear family, a very like heterosocial, heterosexual, binary oriented family. Like it is husband and wife, mother and father with Jack and Marguerite. Their children are represented by a man and a woman as well, with the son and the daughter, Zoe and Lucas. I just lost his name in my head. And this idea that like Mia also is in the mix, and there was maybe some plan to draw me here, so there's this like obsessive binary pairing off of men and women. Not that Lucas and Zoe are necessarily meant to be together, but like this notion of this like the idea that if Eveline is orchestrating all of this, she's like pathologically obsessed with constructing like a very 1950s kind of Leave It to Beaver concept of family. As like grotesque as this may appear, I do think she is trying to do this thing about, you know, mommies and daddies, so to speak. And I think that's really, really interesting considering how often, again, some of these kinds of stories end up being homophobic and transphobic and queerphobic, which is not only sort of about reinforcing existing biases, but also is like rooted in a non-truth about who Geen was, and this idea that he was motivated to sort of like sick violence by way of some alleged transness or alleged gayness or something is just not true. And again was sort of about reinforcing certain biases in a certain era, and the reality that he did have like this weird pathology surrounding his mother, but there was this like a lot of this pathology involved heterosexuality, like and the nuclear family and him being a son to his mother, and like maybe some abusive conditions of his growing up with his mother not trusting or believing in the viability that women could be pure enough or something for her son. I think all of the above are an interesting aspect to this game. Hello, phone.
Now, where the hell are you? You know, never mind. We only need the head, and you've got it. This is gonna help Mia and me, right?
Hey, buddy. I thought you should know. I decided that Zoe needed a timeout. She and Mia are here with me. And they're keeping each other company.
Just let them both go. What do you need them for?
Nah, that's family business, Ethan, and not your concern. Understand? Now, if you want the head, feel free to come by any time and I'll give it to you. But only if you participate in a little activity I put together just for you.
What activity?
Oh, I know you're excited, but don't worry. It's not going anywhere. First step I need you to take, partner, is for you to take a peek inside the fridge in the trailer there.
Fuck you.
Oh, come on now. Don't be like that. You want to have some fun, don't you? Now, look in the fridge.
Gross. That is our police officer's head, which has started to transform into a molded. The top of his cranium opening up like a gaping maw. Oh, there's a note. The pig is waiting for you in the dissection room, bitch. Very rude. Okay. What do we want to do? I need to keep the crow key. I think I can put the hand away. I think we got... I mean, we don't have enough... We don't have any more gunpowder, so I can't really do too much on that front. But we have enough healing items. We have the crow key. We have guns. I think it's time to head in. Let's just save real quick. So yeah, I'm pleased to have had the opportunity to talk about some of that stuff, because that's been on my mind a little bit, just thinking through some of the kind of like larger structures of what this game is accomplishing. Like, it is, as I said, it feels to me at least as though it is so much about some kind of heteronormative nuclear family. It feels sensible to address this peculiar, recurrent inverse to that in a lot of other horror. I might keep the shotgun out just because these are narrower hallways. Just in case any of them decide to spawn right on me. I think we got a crow door in here, which is why I'm heading this way first. Also, I think, is it... There's a crow door. Is it you? No. One of these heads you could take off the wall and look at, and I don't know which one it is. Crookie. Two-headed crow. Kind of like the sigil of the Imperium from Warhammer. If I'm not being nerdy enough for you yet. Solid fuel, I guess I could take. I don't really want it, but grenade launcher. Thank you. Gunpowder. Thank you. Anything else in here? There's gotta be a bobblehead in here. That was another shot. Strong chem fluid. Thank you. I never really looked at... How do we make these? So strong chem fluid and solid fuel. Okay, so that's what the solid fuel will become for. Will be grenade rounds. I'll just do that. Why not? Oh, it makes 2 of them too. That's nice. So now we got several. Oh, shotgun shells. Also, thank you. Is there anything else in this room? Feels like it, again, it feels like this should be a bobblehead location. I've also heard that there's supposed to be noise, like audio to the bobblehead, but I've destroyed them all so quickly that I haven't learned what I'm supposed to be listening for, which is kind of annoying. Are there any other crow doors also? Snake door upstairs. Oh no, downstairs is a snake door. No, go to the second floor. Master bedroom we haven't gone into. I think that is a snake door still, though. We'll run upstairs just to double check. But oh, and then these are points that are locked. I do want to get this one upstairs anyway. So that's a snake door. I think the master bedroom is a snake door, but we'll head upstairs. You know, doesn't hurt to. Nothing in there. Nothing in there. I know that at some point in this game, molded are going to start spawning in different places. So we're going to have to be careful about that. Like, they're going to start spawning in the hallways and things. So we'll just need to be mindful of that. And you are indeed a snake door. That's okay. We'll have the snake key soon enough. Oh, it does look like the mold has grown. Let's use the lockpick though real quick. F U. There we go. Shotgun shells. Is there anything here? No. Okay. Okie dokie. Lots of mold. Another snake door. Oh, I've never mentioned this, but on the wall, fleur de lis. Really common symbol all throughout Louisiana. It's a thing. I actually don't know enough about it to make any definitive statement, so I shouldn't really say more, because I'm not the expert on that subject. Okay, I think it's time to go into the basement. Do I want to drop anything off? I could drop off gunpowder. I could also make more bullets, which I might do real quick. I could also make more grenades. I'm going to do both of those things. You... Oh, I can actually just take more... Yeah, I'm just going to take more handgun ammo and then put the gunpowder away for now. And then combine, and then... Thank you. Does that take up multiple slots? It does not yet. And I might as well save. You know what? Maybe we'll actually call this session quits. I know this hasn't been a super action-packed one. You know what? No. Let's go to the basement. I could end the session now, but I kind of feel like we should get a little more action, get a little more stuff going on. We've talked a lot, but I haven't gone very far. Did they respawn? I think the answer will be yes, but I don't hear any yet. If I go silent, it's because I'm listening for them. Still can't get into the workshop. Hello, Grandma. How are you? You're looking at me. Oh, just wasted a bullet. One thing, I guess before I go too much further, I guess one could argue, sort of related to my past point about heteronormativity in the family, that like Texas Chainsaw Massacre kind of has that as well. Or like there is something in the family in Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Hi. How? Is that your head? No. That's your head gone. Like, Texas Chainsaw Massacre certainly has, like, a family-esque thing going on in it. With, rigor mortis must have set in. His joints are already stiff. There is something Texas Chainsaw Massacre adjacent with the family, but I do think like Leatherface, as I said, Leatherface is sort of like queered a little bit in the first film in a way that's not necessarily like good, by way of him wearing this dress and this wig to look like a housewife. There's a sickening sweet stench. He started rotting already.
Sorry, buddy.
Snake key. Cool. We have the snake key now.
That pretty little thing will help you find the 2 key cards you're gonna need to join the party. We're making over it. You gotta
Let's try out our grenade launcher. Since they were physically together. Cool. So yeah, there is this thing, but it is also like it's a family of 3 men, even if it is sort of a family. And maybe at times there's aspects of it maybe that the franchise is trying to satirize aspects of the family. Because Leatherface's presentation of a housewife isn't necessarily liminal, I guess. Like, I don't know. It's certainly not like believable as a trick, I guess. But it seems like a joke. It's like parodic. Nope. I'm just gonna leave. Bye. I had a feeling that there would be one there. Oh, he can come up the stairs. Bye. I was just gonna run past him, but if he's gonna be a jerk and come up the stairs. Okay. Is there anything I want to... I think that might be the end of the crow key. I'm not 100% sure. We'll put it away. It's not... It's not hard to run back here if needed. Okay. Well, I'll talk a little bit more about Texas Chainsaw Massacre maybe when we get back next session. There is something to be said, I think, in this... There's something about the way it is. It is maybe poking fun at the nuclear family, and there is something that is like a little bit more socially conscious in Texas Chainsaw Massacre than in Psycho or Silence of the Lambs, which is kind of like a wild thing to say, because I think people certainly have more respect for Psycho and Silence of the Lambs in their place in cinema history, but I actually think Texas Chainsaw Massacre might have a little bit more going on in it. I'll explain my thoughts on that a little bit more next time, and we can also touch a little bit on Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, which really like cranks up the satire to another level, and we can also talk a little bit about Carol Clover's book Men, Women, and Chainsaws, and lots of other cool stuff. There's a lot of things that we can talk about. So thank you everyone so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one. It wasn't like a riveting episode. It was more podcasty than some of the others, but that's part of what this playthrough is about, and I'm moving through the story at a pretty good clip because I know like what to do most of the time, I think. So I hope I'm not moving too slowly, or I hope when I pause to talk a little bit, I hope that's not too disruptive. But I think I'm doing something, or I think I'm saying things that are worthwhile. Maybe this should be a podcast. Maybe it should be a video essay. I don't know. But I wanted to play this game, and it's as good a visual as any to have. And I don't really like video editing, so I don't want to make a video essay. And having the visuals as things to respond to is maybe better than just having a podcast. So anyway, I hope you're having fun. I hope you are finding this insightful. And I'm hoping that this can maybe be a model moving forward into Resident Evil 8. Because that game also looks like it's going to be loaded with some really cool stuff. I won't necessarily know what I'm doing, but that game is packed to the gills with symbolism. I could see already in the previews and trailers and things. So thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.